This conference.
Alright, so yesterday we talked about certain basic points related to SAP FICO, and we understood you need to understand basic accounting. We understood basic accounting knowledge is mandatory, basic system knowledge is mandatory, and we also understood basic business process understanding is mandatory. These are the three prerequisites before we step into SAP FICO course. Now, we also understood why these 3 points are important. We decided that if you do not know the basic accounting, we have to keep thinking from a practical point of view. In SAP FICO, whatever the course content or whatever the topics that we talk about, we normally talk about general ledger, accounts payable, receivable, assets, cash account, bank account, taxes. Now, everything is part of your accounting. When we know that all these things are part of accounting, we must be aware of accounting. It is our mistake, it is our problem if we are stepping into learning of SAP FICO without knowing this basic accounting. Right? This is one point that we understood. We understood you must understand at least the basic business process. When we talked about basic business process, we understood that you can take any business. The main intention of any business is to make sure that you get profit. And we understood you will be able to make profit only when you make sales. And you will be able to do sales only when you have a product. And you will have a product only when you either purchase it or produce it. To purchase a product or to produce a product, you need finance, you need money. So all the finance, all the money related things you will be capturing in your accounting side. This is nothing but your SAP FICO. Next one, we also understood we must have basic knowledge about system, which means how to work with the basic system, how to open the different applications and all, we must be good at. This point is exclusively written to make sure that we will be having certain people who are fresh pass outs. So no rule that they have to be aware of the accounting, they have to be aware of the basic system knowledge or not. So they may be having, they may not be having. But we need to make sure all these points are there in your mind even before you start learning SAP FICO. And then we started understanding simple points like every company will have to register their name. Any name that the company is registering is called as company legal registration, that is called as CR or company registration. Based on the company registration, you are going to create a company code in SAP. Anything that you work in SAP FICO, you will be roaming around company code only. Whatever you do in SAP FICO as a FICO consultant, your work is incomplete without a company code. Okay, your work is incomplete without a company code. Company code is nothing but a company legal name. You will be registering the company legal name at country level. According to the respective countries, Companies Act, you will be registering it. That is called as your legal entity. Legal entity is nothing but your company code. Before you start practicing, before you start understanding about SAP FICO, you should have at least few company names in your mind. At least you should have few company names in your mind and what these companies are doing in the market. When we talk about this, let's say we took an example of Samsung yesterday. When we took Samsung as an example, we understood when you talk about Samsung, if you go into the market, what products or what services you will find of Samsung. We decided that you will find mobile phones, laptops, tablets, electronic items like television, music system, refrigerators, washing machines, air conditioners. These are called as products and services of Samsung, which means Samsung is doing business by selling their products and the services. When they are selling their products and services, how they are getting their products? Are they manufacturing the product or are they producing the product or are they simply purchasing and selling the product? These kind of basic points we need to start thinking about from the beginning. This is very important, mandatory even before you start looking at SAP screens. Because tomorrow when you get into SAP, this is what you have to think about. Okay, this is what, when we know that we need to think about, we have to start thinking about these points right from the beginning so that we will think in a right direction. Your mindset, your focus is on the proper way, what you need to do, what points you need to keep in your mind. Instead of this, if you go in a different approach, that may work out or that may not work out. Those who are not talking, please be on mute. If you have any questions, I'll give you the time at the end to ask all your questions. Okay. So, and then we also decided, when your company is dealing with the business, your company will have to find out whether they are making profit or loss at the end of every month. We decided to find out whether you are making profit or loss at the end of every month. You need to prepare certain financial reports. These financial reports are nothing but a trial balance, P&L, balance sheet. To prepare a trial balance, to prepare a P&L account, to prepare the balance sheet, you must prepare the financial accounting entries or journal entries. How you are going to record the journal entries, how you are going to prepare the ledger account, all these things is something that we have to understand right from the beginning. Even before we step into accounting, even before we step into SAP, we must know this is the general points to be known for every commerce graduate or for everyone who wants to get into SAP, for everyone who wants to work as a FICO consultant. And we also understood that you will be working on SAP FICO as a FICO consultant. You will be working on SAP FICO as a FICO consultant. When you say that you are working as a FICO consultant, you are going to work for a client. So we understood your counterpart is called as a client or business. So you will be working for a client, and whatever the consulting services that you are providing to your client or to your counterpart, it is not based on your choice. It is always based on your client choice. Whatever your client says that this is my business requirement, this is what we want to do, this is how we want to pull out the report, this is how we want to record the transaction. You need to discuss with your client, understand their business requirement, map it in SAP, and then deliver to them in SAP. For us to do it, first we need to understand what is the business process. First we need to understand what is business process and how you are going to understand this business process, which is nothing but your client or your business requirement. When you get the business requirement, we understood you will have to play three roles. These three roles you will have to play, these three dimensions you have to think from your point of view, especially when you are in learning stage. If you are in the learning stage, normally what will happen? We will be thinking only from the consulting point of view. When I say we will be thinking only from the consulting point of view, I mean we will be thinking majoritarily only from the configuration part. When I say configuration part, if I'm talking about any particular topic, let's say baseline configuration or enterprise structure or organization structure, I may be thinking about, or I may be talking about, we have to create a company, we have to create a company code, business area, chart of account, fiscal year. There will be a list which you can get from every source. It's openly available in the market. Anybody can download, anybody can view for free of cost. But when you see this activity list, when you see this transaction list, how you are going to define in your practice? Let's say I am going to create a company code and you are also going to create a company code. On what basis you are going to create a company code? Is it something that you are looking at a document, you are looking at a material, notes, or a YouTube video? Whatever is defined there, you are blindly following it and then you are creating a copy of it? Or are you understanding, do you know why you are creating a company code? Who will tell you to create a company code? On what basis you will create a company code? If there are any prerequisites, what are those prerequisites before you create a company code? Are we knowing these points, or are we straight away thinking, are we straight away configuring 10-20 company codes, and are we feeling confident that yes, I created 10 company codes, I am comfortable with company code creation? Right? So right from the beginning, the way you're thinking, the way you're practicing, the way you're looking at the system will decide what you're going to achieve at the end of your learning. This is what is going to decide what you're going to achieve at the end of your learning. Yesterday we talked about 2 points, 3 points in fact. Point number 1, duration of your course. So I said you have different tracks available in the market. You have fast track, normal track, weekend track, regular track, which will cover or which will complete your course starting from 30 days, 45 days, 60 days, 90 days. So we talked about there are different ways to complete your SAP FICO course based on number of hours or based on different factors which will decide on what basis your course is completed in 30 days or 45 days, 60 days or 90 days. We also understood one more point. That it takes 30 days to understand SAP. I told you it will take 30 days for anybody to understand what is SAP, what is happening in SAP. For you to get that basic idea, basic understanding, it takes up to 30 days. So when we say it takes up to 30 days, I mean this 30 days you are not going to understand anything. Even if you understand something, it will have lot of confusions, it will have lot of question marks. Why I am doing this? Why am I doing this? Because initially whatever you configure cannot be seen as output. Any settings that you are going to create at the beginning, you will not understand, you cannot see the output, why you are creating these settings, what is happening with these settings. This is possible only when you create a document. This is possible only when you pull out a report. This is possible only when you try to revisit, recap what you have done to see how an accounting entry is posted. Because your accounting begins from the journal entry. Am I correct? Your accounting begins from writing a debit credit journal entry. Is my point correct?
Yes, sir.
So when we know
Yes, sir.
that our accounting begins from writing a debit credit journal entry, when you're talking about SAP FICO, you have to see that your journey is starting only when you are able to post a journal entry. In order to post a journal entry in SAP, you need to perform certain settings. These settings are normally called as baseline configuration or enterprise structure or organization structure. You need to define this baseline configuration or enterprise structure or organization structure. When these settings are defined, it is possible for you to create a debit credit document. When you are posting a document, you need to make sure your document, whatever you are posting, is exactly the same document that is posted in any organization in real environment. When I say this, you can post a document in different ways. When I say you can post a document in different ways, when you post a document, you need to make sure what parameters, what criteria is to be included in a document. Now, if you think from SAP point of view, SAP is very expensive application. The cost of SAP will cost you in CRs, in crores, or the basic version of SAP will cost you in lakhs. In short, it will cost you crores. It's a huge investment for any organization to get into SAP. Now, small companies cannot get into SAP. Correct? Point number one, you need to keep in your mind. Small companies cannot afford SAP because it's an expensive, costly application. When we know this is an expensive application, costly application, only the big size companies will get into SAP. When we talk about big size companies, their business operations are huge. They are spread across different countries. So when you know that your clients are big, your companies are big, the way you think, the way you look at the SAP should also be different. If you are simply going to post a debit to one account, credit to one account, then whatever you are going to do is not going to help you out in future. When I say in future, I mean 2 points here. Point number one, your interview. Point number two, your project. Now, whatever you are learning, you need to always see this from 2 points. Whatever I am doing, is this going to help in my interview? Point number two, whatever I am doing, is this the same way that I am going to do in my project? If you are not able to evaluate this, then whatever you are doing, whether it is right, whether it is wrong, nobody knows. So it should not be that case. So you need to make sure that you are able to evaluate, you are able to judge yourself that what you are learning is correct, what you are understanding, what you are practicing is fair enough, to clear your interview is fair enough to sustain, to work independently, confidently when you're in a job, when you're in a project. We have also decided that to evaluate your learning, you need to have these points in your mind. So we have also clearly discussed where you learn is immaterial. Whether you learn from me, whether you learn from somebody else, it is immaterial. End of the day, it is you, it is your career. So you have decided to learn SAP FICO, you have decided to make a career in SAP FICO. If it is your dream, if it is your choice to become a FICO consultant, it is not possible just by joining a SAP FICO course, just by practicing. Because if you just join a SAP FICO course, if you just practice the SAP FICO content, you will be just completing the FICO course. Completing the FICO course is not going to give you the SAP FICO consultant job. Alright, in your course, what you are going to learn is only the configuration. But in your project, what you do as a consultant is not just configuration. There is a big list of activities that you do as a consultant when you are in a project, when you are in an organization. But majoritarily, what we see when you are learning is only the configuration. But in reality, configuration is one of your activities. There will be a list of activities. From this list of activities, configuration is just one line of it. There are multiple things that you will be doing, but all these multiple things we will keep aside. We don't even bother to think about it. Alright, we will be focusing only on the configuration, only on the transaction codes. This is whether we accept or we do not accept. This is the market reality. This is the ground reality. But this kind of thinking, this kind of mindset, first we have to remove right from the beginning. If you are there, then we will not be able to achieve our goal. We will not be able to become a FICO consultant for sure, because that mindset is not suitable. That mindset will not give you the opportunity to become a consultant. We understood you need to have network. You need to know certain people who are learning SAP FICO like you. Let's say if you are learning from me, you must know people who are learning SAP FICO from different places, from different institutes, from different people. Let's say somebody is learning from somewhere else, they should also have some people in their network who are learning SAP FICO from different places. This is to make sure that you are learning right content, you are learning correct things. Point number 2, you must talk to the people, you must know people, those who already learned SAP FICO, those who already completed SAP FICO course, and what are they doing, how are the job opportunities, how is the market, is there any opportunities currently, what are they asking in interview, what topics we need to prepare, how we need to practice, because you need to have your own investigation, you need to have your own approach, you need to have your own workaround for it. Next one, you need to know people who are working on SAP FICO as consultants. You need to know people who are working as SAP FICO consultants to make sure you can verify with them how you are going to work, or how your project is working, what activities you are doing in your project. This is how I am learning. Is this the way correct that I will be able to work in a project, or is it same thing that I am learning that you are doing in your project? Are things happening in the similar way? You need to validate, you need to verify these points. Next one, you need to know about end users who are working on SAP FICO. Talk to the end users who are working on SAP FICO, check with them how they are posting entries in SAP. If it is related to GL, if it is related to AP, AR, or any other module, how they are posting the entries, what they are doing during the month end and all, how they are looking at the reports, how important reports are, how importance is given to accounting when they are working as an end user. When you talk about these points, when you consolidate all this information, you will get fair idea, you will get fair understanding what you need to know about SAP FICO. Because majoritarily what mistake we all do is we blindly join an institute and we end up believing the people who are teaching. In the teaching, you may be taught only the configuration part, or you may be taught certain things and certain things may be left out. There are certain things which will be taught by the trainer. There are certain things which will have to be investigated, which will have to be explored by a candidate like you. You will have to do your groundwork more than what you are being taught. Right? If you have to get taught on everything, then you may have to do a long-term course. But because everybody's intention is to learn quickly, get into job quickly. But we do not want to learn things, we do not want to have the knowledge properly, but we want to go it in a fast track. But point number one, should clarify your doubts clearly. I'm clearly writing, it takes up to 30 days, it takes up to 1 month for anybody to understand what is SAP, what is happening in SAP FICO, why we are doing what we are doing. Only after understanding this, your learning starts. If your course duration is 3 months, you have to start after understanding this. If you are not understanding what is SAP, what is happening in it, why you are doing the settings, if you keep on counting this topic is completed, that topic is completed, you will end up completing the course. You will end up completing course and you will end up knowing about SAP. You will end up knowing about SAP. Our intention is not to know about SAP. Our intention is to learn SAP. You want to learn SAP in such a way that you will be able to work independently. Knowing about SAP will not give you knowledge, will not give you confidence to work independently. Only if you learn the subject, that will give you knowledge, that will give you confidence to work independently. Right? Now, next one we talked about proxy interviews, backdoor jobs, on-job support. These are three things. These are three things that will attract people in the market. These are three things where people will get cheated in the market. People will tell, I will do a proxy interview for you, please pay me XYZ amount. So you will not be attending your interview, somebody will attend your interview on your behalf, even though it is video call. And let's say that if the interview gets cleared, you will have to pay, let's say, more than 5 times or more than 3 times, 4 times, 5 times of your training cost. Right? It's like for attending you need to pay some amount. If your interview is cleared, you need to pay another amount. So at any cost you need to pay amount if you go for proxy. Second one, backdoor job. This is very expensive thing. This might cost you 10 times than your training cost. So you don't need to attend the interview. Even if you attend the interview, people will just like that give you the offer letter. They will send you inside the company on day one. There is no connection between you and the other person. Connection will get cut. Third one, on-job support. Let's say you got the job and then you are not confident. You don't know that what work they will assign to me. How do I work on my support ticket? If they are asking me something, how do I answer? I do not know. Then again you have one more option available in the market called as on-job support. Now, if you are dependent on these things, if these points are there in your mind, you will never become a FICO consultant. You will never learn the subject. First thing that you need to do is you need to remove these 3 points from your mind. First thing that you need to do is you need to remove these points from your mind. Never say okay to proxy, never say okay to backdoor, never say okay to on-job support, no matter what. If you are having interest, if you feel that you are confident enough to learn subject, if you want to work independently, if you feel that you have that skill set, remove these points from your mindset right from the beginning. Even before you start learning SAP FICO, you must remove these points from your mindset, because these are points that will put you in a tricky situation where you will get attracted to it and you will be ending up paying huge money but for no benefit. Just imagine you learnt your SAP FICO course, you are not able to answer for 30 minutes in your interview. How bad it is? To say that I have completed my SAP FICO training but I am not able to clear my interviews. We need to put a cross question, why are we not able to clear the interviews? Your interview is of 30 minutes. 30 minutes you are not able to talk about SAP FICO. And then you are not able to clear your interview. The next option is to go for proxy or to go for backdoor. Let's say something you did, somehow you managed, you went inside the job, you are not confident on work. You're not confident on work, and then again you are depending on on-job support. Every month you need to pay amount to one person who will provide you on-job support. Now remember, nobody knows everything in SAP FICO. It's kind of a research and development work. You will have to work on different requirements. You will have to work on different requirements, for which you need to have the basic knowledge, basic skill set, that you are able to understand the business requirement. You are able to map this business requirement into SAP. This thought process, this ideology, this thinking, this techniques, these tips is what you wanted to learn, is what you have to adopt during your training. If you are able to gain this knowledge, you will get confident automatically. You can easily work independently. You don't have to depend on anybody. If you are not able to gain confidence when you are learning, it is not going to help you grow in your career. Next one, I said, if you are depending only on these points, you are not putting in your effort, you will end up becoming a victim. When I say you will end up becoming a victim, I mean you complete your SAP FICO course, but you will not get any SAP FICO job. You will be struggling in the market to get a break, to get the job. Right? That is what I mean by a victim. You complete your course, but you will not get the job. Practically, if we both talk, if SAP FICO is so easy, if SAP FICO is so simple, whoever is completed the accounting background, whoever is from commerce background, everybody would have been saying that I am a SAP FICO consultant. But is it the reality in the market? Everybody would have been saying that I am also FICO consultant, I am also SAP consultant. But why most of the people are not opting SAP FICO? Because most of the people have tried SAP FICO, most of the people have given up SAP FICO because of so many reasons, which I will be talking in all your overview sessions. I will tell you all the points why this people will get into SAP FICO, why most of the people will drop out from SAP FICO. Alright, only I said hardly 10% people who learn SAP FICO will get job. 90% of those who join SAP FICO will be a dropout for various reasons. For various reasons, 90% will be dropouts. You can investigate, you can verify from your network in the market. You will be surprised to see the result. You will be surprised to know the facts. You will not even believe that this is what is happening in the market on SAP FICO trainings. Okay, this is what we've discussed yesterday. Just a quick recap. Now let's talk about something different today. When we talk about SAP FICO learning, we understood it's all about accounting. It's all about accounting. When we talk about accounting, first thing we need to understand is accounting cycle. First thing that we need to understand is accounting cycle. When you talk about accounting cycle, it has got a sequence in which your accounting is executed in any organization across the globe. First one, I would say, journal entry. First one is journal entry. Based on the journal entry, you will be preparing ledger accounts. Based on the journal entry, you will be preparing ledger accounts. Based on the ledger accounts, you will be preparing trial balance. Based on the trial balance, you will be preparing profit and loss statement. Based on the profit and loss statement, you will be preparing balance sheet. I have listed 5 activities here: journal entry, ledger account, trial balance, P&L, balance sheet. Is this sequence correct?
Yes, sir. It's correct.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes,
This
sir.
is what the sequence that we normally follow for journal entry. Let's say I know that this is what the accounting cycle is. I feel that yes, I know everything. This is what the cycle is. Now, when I want to write a journal entry, what am I going to write as journal entry? Can I write whatever I want as a journal entry if I'm working in an organization or if I'm doing a business?
No.
No, sir.
No.
I cannot write whatever comes in my mind as journal entry. which means whatever we know as journal entry from the academic point of view is different. Whatever journal entry that you know from your academics, the way it is used, the way it is applied in an organization is different. From your academics or in general, whatever we know about accounting is only to give you confidence that you can do something. If you are not aware of accounting, when you are talking about real environment, when you are talking about any practical organization, or when you are talking about any business, we may not be clear how to do this accounting from the business point of view. Because the way you see the accounting in your academics, the way you see the accounting in an organization is different. Am I correct? Those who are working on accounting, those who worked on accounting, is it same that we studied in our academics, or is it something different?
Obviously, it will be different from our academics.
Right, whatever we did in our academics, it is slightly different. When I say it is slightly different, there are certain changes, there are certain differences which we need to adopt, and how we are going to adopt these changes will matter a lot. How you are going to adopt these changes, how you are going to understand that these changes are there from your normal academic accounting to the practical accounting. Now this is possible only when you start understanding from a practical accounting point of view, from an organization, from a business point of view. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Now next one. Now here I do not know what journal entry to be written here. Now if I do not have a journal entry, I cannot prepare ledger account. If I do not have a ledger account, I cannot prepare trial balance. If I cannot prepare trial balance, my P&L cannot be drafted. If I don't have my P&L, I cannot prepare my balance sheet. In short, if I do not have journal entry, is it possible for us to do accounting?
No.
No, sir.
No, if you do not have a journal entry, it is not possible for us to do the accounting. Now, if I know what is debit, if I know what is credit, can I write journal entry? I can say that in journal entry, it's nothing but debit and credit. I'll say journal entry is nothing but a debit and credit. You put one debit, you put one credit. Debit amount must be equivalent to credit amount. This forms a journal entry. If I know these definitions, will I be able to write a journal entry?
Yes, sir.
If I know what is debit, if I know what is credit, I will be able to write a journal entry. But which debit I am going to take, which credit I am going to take, for what amounts I am going to take. How do you decide that I have to take this account on the debit side, or I have to take some other account on the credit side? What amount you need to take? How do you know it? What do you require? What is needed to
Accounting
write a journal entry?
principles.
An invoice.
What is needed? On what basis I will be writing that I need to debit this account, credit this account? What do I need?
Accounting principles.
If I have accounting principle, is it fine?
or on the base of money is coming or going out.
If I know the golden rules of accounting, is it fine? Or I need to know what happened as a business transaction,
Yes, you need the business transaction.
Business transactions.
right? I need to know the business transaction. I need to know business transaction. If I do not know this business transaction, I will not be able to do my accounting. Agree with me?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Yes.
I say that I don't know what happened, but how can I
Yes,
write
sir.
an accounting entry? Let's say I said I paid salaries. Now salaries is a business transaction. I know that how to write an accounting entry for salaries. Maybe based on my understanding, based on accounting principle, based on golden rules, or based on I by hearted all the accounting entries, any reason. The moment I say salary is paid, I am able to tell salary account debit. Salary account debit. But what amount am I going to write? I should know if the transaction is salary is paid, how much is paid. Correct? Huh?
Yes.
I know salary is paid, I must know how much salaries are paid. If I know the amount of salaries paid is, let's say, 200,000, I will be able to put 200,000 in my accounting entry or in my journal entry. But how did you pay salaries? Did you pay salaries by cash? Did you pay salaries by bank? Or you did not pay this month, you will be paying next month. That is also possible. Let's say if I say salaries paid. Point number one, I can pay salary by cash, correct?
Yes,
I
sir.
can distribute cash to the staff as a salary. Point number two, I can send amount in their bank accounts. So I can pay salary through bank. Option number three, I will say that I paid salaries, but I will not pay money. This is also possible. When I said I paid salaries, but I said I will not pay salary, which means there are certain companies, especially when you talk about salaries, certain companies will give you salary on the same month last working day, correct? There are certain
Yes.
companies who will pay the salary on the same month last working day. If you are talking about July, you will be receiving July salary in your account maybe on 31st July or on 30th July, depending on when the last working day is falling on. In some companies, you will be receiving salary for the month of July, maybe on 1st of August or on 5th of August, on 7th of August. Is this also possible?
Yes.
Yes, both are possible.
Some
Yes, it's
companies
possible.
will make the salary of this month in the next month. Now, if I say salary is paid, you cannot just like that say that salary account debit, bank account credit, salary account credit, cash account credit. You cannot say that because you are talking about a business transaction. You are thinking from a practical business point of view. Business transaction must be crystal clear. It's supposed to be very clear. If your business transaction is not clear, you will not be writing the accounting entry. You will be seeking the additional information or you will be seeking the additional clarification. Point number one that you need to remember before you write any accounting entry, before you write any journal entry, you need a business transaction. You need a business transaction, and is this business transaction supposed to have a supporting document or not required?
It is required.
It's required. It's
It's
okay.
Right? Can
required.
I record something in my accounting as debit or credit without any proof, without any document? Is that allowed first of all?
No, it's not
Not
allowed.
allowed.
It is not allowed. This is the basic principles of your accounting. Without any supporting document, no accounting is made. And any supporting that you are going to have for your accounting, you are supposed to preserve, you are supposed to store the supporting or backup documentation for the next 7 years or so. If I come today and then if I tell that 3 years ago I paid, let's say in 2020, I paid 20,000 to your organization, but we we see that that amount is not accounted anywhere. We don't see any receipt. Those invoices are still appearing as open. Now I want you to pull out the transaction that we paid to you in 2020. Now, can you say that you paid in 2020? We do not have any information about it now. Can we say that?
No.
You cannot say it. You have to go back and then pull out the files, documents of 2020, in which month they paid, whether it is bank statement, whatever it is. You must be in a position to pull out the document because this is the basic fundamental, basic principle. Any accounting that you are recording, you must have the supporting document which must be stored for long run. Right? Now, without business transaction, whatever the accounting that we know is not going to help us. Because we are not writing any academic examination, you're not going to tell or show somebody that you know accounting. This is just to make sure you gain confidence, you do SAP FICO learning in a practical way, which is required, which is expected from you in the market. Right? Now this business transaction is nothing but your business requirement. If you do not know the business transaction, even though you know accounting, you will be blank here. I can do nothing. Agree? I'm asking you, do you know accounting? Your answer is yes, I know accounting. I'm asking you, tell me the accounting cycle. You are telling me journal entry, ledger account, trial balance, P&L, balance sheet. Now I recruited you. Now I want you to write accounting entries. Can you write? Or you are dependent on me?
No.
No, we can write, sir.
You can.
There must be a business transaction before you write.
Right. So you're dependent on me. I need to give you the list of transactions that happened in my business in a particular month. Let's say there are some 20 expenses that we paid. There are 10 receipts that we received. We paid to certain suppliers. We received amount from certain customers. You purchased certain assets. You imported some materials or you transferred some material. You billed your customer. Something like this. I have to tell you these are the transactions that took place in this month. Based on each transaction, you are going to decide whether this account has to be debited or whether this account has to be credited. In short, based on the transaction, you are going to decide what to debit, what to credit. Agree?
Agree.
Now, if I try to put a simple example here, let's say I have a small grocery shop. I have a small grocery shop in which what I'm doing, I have invested something. Let's say investment is nothing but I have started my grocery shop with assuming some capital of 10,000. Now out of 10,000 I made some purchases. I made some purchases with 6,000 rupees, and the 6,000 worth stock I sold for 8,500, and I had some expenses. I had some expenses costing, let's say, 800 rupees. I received some incomes, let's say costing or amounting some 300. Assuming this is what happened in my business for the first month. This is my first month business. This is my first month. In my first month, this is what happened. Now, assuming this is a simple small shop where I have not done any registration. My company is not a registration. I'm just running a street shop. I'm just running a street shop at my home only. I do not have any official business, nothing. You can run street shop anywhere, right? No need of any approvals, no need of any permission, nothing is required. Anybody can do this small businesses. Now, if I want to find out, this is what I have done for the first month, whether I am getting profit or loss. Is it something that everybody wants to know, or they will do the business, or they will ignore the result?
Everybody
Do
wants
we
to
need
know.
to know whether we made profit or loss, or it's fine even if you don't calculate it?
We need to know.
We must know whether we got profit or we got loss. Accordingly, you will plan your next month. If I am making profit, I will try to invest some more amount. If I am making loss, I will decide whether this will suit or it will not suit me. Agree? For me to take certain strategical decisions, for me to decide how my business is doing, what I can do to improve my business, I need to know my financial result. Irrespective of a legal entity, irrespective of a big company, irrespective of a small company, even if you do a small street shop like a grocery shop. Now, how do you find out whether you get profit or loss from this? How do you decide whether you got profit or loss from this? On what basis we are going to decide? If I take simply, how do I decide whether I got profit or loss from this?
Incomes minus expenses.
Right. So first you should know how do you calculate profit or loss. To find out profit or loss, you will be making a P&L. Now, when you are making it a P&L, now let's say I am a street vendor who is running the grocery shop. I am not from a commerce background. I do not know accounting. In fact, I am an illiterate. I have not studied anything. I am an illiterate. I did not study anything, but still I am able to do business. Agree? I can still do, or do I need any qualification to do business like this? I do not need any qualification, right? Now, if I want to find out, I will be thinking that I'll take how much I spent in a month and how much I received in a month. Now in this purchase, is it an expense?
Yes.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Expense is also an expense. Now in this, sales is an income
Yes.
and income is also an income. So what I will do, I will be taking that, okay, I spent 6,000 for purchasing and I had some other expenses of 800, and I will write I sold for 8,500 this month and I received in other means, let's say some 300. Now I need to find out what is my total income that I received during the month, what is my total expense that I paid during the month. Now if I do this calculation, my income is more or my expense is more?
Income is more.
My income is more. If I know that my income is more, my expenses are less. If my income is more, I am going to get profit or I am going to get loss.
You're
Profit.
going to get profit.
If my income is more, I am going to get profit. If my expense is more, I am going to get a loss. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Yes.
Now, income is on the debit side or income is on the credit side?
Income is on the credit side.
Income is on the credit side. Now, your P&L is showing a credit balance or a debit balance.
Credit balance.
Expenses also debit balance.
Credit
Your,
balance.
your P&L is showing a credit balance or a debit balance.
The credit balance.
Balance.
Credit balance of 2000.
Credit balance or debit balance. What is your P&L showing? How do you call it? There is a difference of 2000. This 2000 is called as debit balance of P&L or credit balance of P&L.
The credit balance of P&L.
Credit.
This is called as credit balance of P&L. Now, on what basis you are going to decide whether your P&L or whether your account is showing debit or credit balance? You should always do the debit side, credit side total. Do a total on the debit side, do a total on the credit side. Look at the debit amount, look at the credit amount, check which side is more. Which side is more?
Credit side.
Income.
Credit side is more. If your credit side is more, it is called as credit balance. If your debit side is more, this is called as a debit balance. If your credit side is more, this is called as credit balance. If your credit side is more, debit side is less.
Yes.
Correct? If your credit side is more, debit side is less. How much is less on
Yes.
the debit side?
2000.
2000.
2000. So if I put 2000, I need to make sure my debit credit matches. I need to make sure my debit credit matches. Now this 2000, is this called as a profit or is this called as a loss?
This is net profit.
Profit.
This is called as a profit. Is this called as a positive 2000 or negative 2000? If I have to write from accounting point of view, should I put debit 2000 or credit 2000?
Credit 2000.
I have to put this 2000 or minus 2000. How should I write this profit?
Minus
Plus
2000.
2000 or minus 2000?
Minus 2000.
Agree everybody? Your profit is minus 2000 all the time, which means your P&L profit or your profit will always show a credit balance. This is point number one that you need to remember. Most of the people will have a confusion here. The moment they look at the P&L, the moment they look at the negative number, they assume that it is a loss. Right? So these kind of small basic confusions we should not have. If I know this is my 2000 profit, now I am able to calculate that I got 2000 profit without any application, because I'm doing a small grocery shop. I don't have any accounting applications, I don't have any software, I don't even have any notebook. On my mind, I'm able to visualize that this is my expense, this is my income. If I compare my expense with my income, This is the balancing figure, which I am calling it as profit or a loss. Now, what if the same grocery shop is using an application called Tally? If they use an application called Tally, should they get profit of 2000 or something else will happen? Same transactions, but if this grocery shop is using Tally application, will they get 2000 profit or something miracle things will happen?
No, 2000.
Or that
2000
2000
profit only.
2000
The
profit.
same
They will
thing.
get 2000 profit. And assuming if they are using Oracle, any miracle will happen or only 2000 you will get?
Only 2000.
3000.
If they are using SAP, any miracle will happen or only 2000?
Only
2000.
2000.
Now your SAP is not going to create any difference. Your SAP is not going to create any magic in your accounting, correct?
Yes.
Your loss is becoming profit, your profit is becoming loss, your profit is increasing, your profit is decreasing. Anything happening to accounting if you use any application, if you do not use any application? Any effect, any impact, or there is no impact on your
No
accounting?
impact. No impact.
There is no impact on your accounting because accounting is fixed. Where you are using, where you are doing this accounting is variable. It is your choice. If you are a small organization, you may be going for small applications like Tally, JD Edwards, Dynamics and all. If you are a little big organization, you may opt for Oracle, PeopleSoft, something like that. If you are even more bigger organization, you want to have good application with tightly integrated possibilities, you may be opting SAP. When you're opting SAP, you're not going to have any change in your business process. You're not going to have any change in your accounting. It is just that the tool that you are changing. It's just a tool that you're using for recording your accounting. If you're talking about SAP FICO, in SAP FICO, whatever you do in your accounting, same thing you are going to do on SAP FICO. If I do not know what is my accounting, if I do not know what is my accounting, I will not be able to do my accounting on SAP FICO. Tomorrow, if you want to become a FICO consultant, assuming you have become a FICO consultant, you are working for a client. You are in a project called implementation, rollout, or support. Your client is going to give you requirement, your client is going to talk to you in SAP language or in accounting language.
Accounting language.
Your client or your user, your business is going to communicate with you in SAP language or in accounting language. Obviously accounting language,
Yes.
correct?
Yes, sir.
Now the common understanding between a consultant, between a user or between the business, between the client is not SAP, is accounting. First of all, when you sit in front of me as a consultant, I want you to understand what I am talking. I don't need to understand what you are talking because you will be talking technically from SAP FICO point of view. Am I correct? You
Yes,
will
sir.
be talking what is your company code, what is your fiscal year, what is your chart of account, what is your variant, which table you are using, tell me the T code. I don't even understand what do you mean by it. So I'm fine. I don't need to know about these things because I'm not a technical guy. I'm a user. I'm your client, I'm your the business. I don't need to know these technical points. For that only I have appointed you as a consultant in my project. Correct? But am I going to talk from the SAP point of view in the SAP language? As a client, as a user, as a business?
No, sir.
No, right? I'm going to talk from simple basic accounting point of view using basic accounting terminology. I will be talking, we are going to debit this account, we want to pull out this report, we need to make this aging report, we need to calculate due date, we need to prepare TB, we need to prepare balance sheet, we need to prepare P&L, we want to look out this ledger balances, this JV we wanted to pass, we need to adjust this account balance from this amount to this amount. I need to transfer this amount from here to there. All these kind of basic accounting things they will be talking. And we need to understand what they're talking about and what do they want to achieve from their accounting, and how their accounting is achieved or how their accounting is performed in the SAP. This is what you are going to do. You are going to facilitate, you are going to help them doing their business accounting or doing their business process in SAP application. It is not that your client does not know accounting. Your clients, your business users are experts in accounting. Agree?
Yes, sir.
Correct?
Agreed.
They are
Agreed, sir.
experts in accounting. That is what they do on a daily basis. Now, it is just that they do not know how to do this accounting on SAP. They will tell you what to debit, they will tell you what to credit, they will give you all the logics on what basis they are posting into this account, how this report is prepared, everything they will tell you. But everything they are going to tell from the accounting point of view. You need to understand their requirement from accounting point of view, convert this accounting requirement into SAP point of view, make the necessary changes whatever is required to bring this requirement into SAP, and then show them their accounting in SAP. It is you who need to show or who need to demonstrate everything in SAP. Correct? Huh? If you have done something, you need to explain it. And if you are talking about P&L, if you are talking about a JV posting in SAP, can you say or can you explain a journal entry how it is posted in SAP without talking about a debit credit? No, right? You need to explain which account to be debited, which account to be credited, how system is considering a debit, how system is considering a credit, different fields, usage of it, and etc. Then your client is going to understand based on your explanation. Point number one that you need to remember here, because we are planning to become a SAP FICO consultant. If you are becoming SAP FICO consultant, point number one of your rule or one of your responsibility as a FICO consultant is to provide a training to the users. Agree with me? If you
Yes, sir.
become a SAP FICO consultant, tomorrow in your projects, you will have to conduct a training sessions to the end user. Is this right or wrong?
Yes, it's right.
Yes, sir. It's right.
Right.
Today we are getting trained on SAP FICO. Tomorrow you are supposed to give training on SAP FICO to the users, not one-to-one. You will be providing a training if something like this, the way I am giving you now. If you are working for a client, maybe you are working from India, you are working from US, but your client belongs to some other country, Australia, Singapore, any other country. Let's say they have some 20 users. So you will be creating a meeting request. So all the users will join into the meeting just like that you have joined now. The way I am sharing my screen, you will be sharing your screen. You have to explain everything. Point to point you need to explain, and then at the end of your explanation or in between your explanation, you may be getting different questions, clarifications, doubts from the users. Am I correct? They'll ask you why, how, what will happen, what is the use of this field, how do I verify this document, if I post it incorrectly, how do I rectify it, how do I know how many entries are posted? Likewise, crazy questions you may be getting from your users. Now can you say no, I do not know this, or you have to answer them? You have to answer, right? This is point number one. You will be giving training to the end user tomorrow when you become a consultant. So make sure whatever you are learning, you are able to explain it. This is point number one to be kept in your mind. Point number two. Point number two, whenever you are working on any project, it is your responsibility, it is one of your mandatory activity as a FICO consultant to prepare documentation. Agree? You have to prepare documentation. Now tomorrow if you are working in any organization, let's talk from the end user point of view. There is something called SOP, standard operating procedure, or user manual. In every company, for every process, there is something called SOP documents or user manuals. Am I right?
Yes, yes.
Correct, correct.
Right? Let's say I joined as an accounts payable executive in an organization as an end user, and my role or my activity is to process invoices on a daily basis. I have to process invoices. Now, I may have experience on SAP before, I may not have experience on SAP before, because for end user that will not be a much bigger criteria. Now, when I join, nobody will be giving me training. They will simply give me the material or the document, SOP. They will forward me the SOP documents. This is how you log into the system. This is how you go to this screen. This is how you post an invoice. This is how you display the document. Agree? Am I correct?
Correct.
Correct? Huh? Now, who is going to prepare this document? Is this document prepared by the end user, or is this document prepared by the FICO consultant and share it with the business?
The FICO consultant.
This document is prepared by the SAP FICO consultant. Now, these 2 points keep in your mind. Point number 1, as a consultant, tomorrow you are going to conduct training sessions in your projects. Point number 2, as a FICO consultant, you are going to prepare user manuals for your end users in your project. Now, here, what normally happens, all of us will be behind the document, will be behind the material. If you want to practice something, you are dependent on something called material, document, step-by-step screenshot, T-code. Agree? Right? Will be dependent on the materials majoritarily. But tomorrow, you are not going to depend on material. Tomorrow, you are going to prepare the material. So, which means the way you look at the system, the way you understand the system is something different. So, you have to come out of the mindset wherein you are dependent on material, you are dependent on document. Don't look at the material, don't look at any document. Look at the requirement, keep the business requirement in your mind. According to business requirement, start thinking. If this is the requirement, how am I going to do this? First of all, this requirement is part of which module? Is this part of FI? Is this part of CO? If FI, is this part of a GL, AP, AR, asset, tax? If asset, normally what is the business process for asset accounting? If it is GL, what is the business process of GL? If it is AP, what is the process of AP? So these kind of things should be there in your mind at high level. So things should start striking your mind without looking at anything, no document, no material, nothing. So slowly you have to inject all the concepts into your mind. Alright, maybe you may be struggling at the beginning if you do not know, but this way you are going to memorize things, this way you are going to practice the business processes. You will commit mistakes at the beginning, but you are going to learn from your mistakes only. If you are looking at the document, there is no point of mistake, there is no mistake, there is no learning. Because when you are in a project, there are a lot of mistakes, lot of errors. That is why there is a dedicated project called support project. Agree? Correct? Huh? There is a project called support in SAP.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Support is a never-ending project.
Yes.
Support is a never-ending project. It's 24/7, 365 days a year, you will have support projects. Now you are going to provide support for their problems, you are going to provide support for their new requirements, you are going to provide support for their understanding, for their clarifications. Tomorrow you are supposed to provide the support. For that, you should not be depending on something else to have your support. You are at a stage to provide support to your client, but instead we will be ending at a stage wherein we are taking the support. Is this fair? Is this a good sign? Tomorrow you have to provide support to your client, but unfortunately we are ending up getting support for our work only. Now these points, the reason why we are talking at the beginning is to make sure that we realize different things before we proceed, before we talk about SAP FICO, so that we will be thinking practically in a different mindset. Your approach should get changed at the beginning. Now, if you look at this basic accounting, you understood whatever you do from your manual calculation, whatever you do from any accounting application, number is not going to get changed. In short, your accounting will remain fixed, your accounting will remain constant. If you know the accounting, knowing, learning SAP FICO is simple, is very easy. If you do not know accounting, whatever you know, whatever you learn in SAP is not going to help you, because your config is of no use if you do not have the business requirement. If you are not able to understand my requirement, how you are going to use, how you are going to utilize your config knowledge, config skill set. Remember, tomorrow when you are in a project, you will be doing the configuration by looking at the document. It's a copy paste work doing the config. Nobody will tell you don't look at anything, don't Google, don't YouTube. Just apply your mind, use your experience and then config. This is not called as an examination when you're in a project. When you're in a project, how you're going to work is your choice. Nobody is going to look at, nobody is going to bother how you're working when you're in a project. Whether you work independently, whether you take somebody's support, or whether you ask somebody to work on your behalf, nobody cares. End of the day, they want to get the work done. That's it. This is what the requirement, whether this is done or not. This is what the problem, whether the problem is resolved or not. This is what they want. Whether you resolved it or somebody is resolving on your behalf, nobody wants. End of the day, I want to make sure the problems that are coming, the requirement that we are receiving is scattered, is met. Which means when nobody is caring, when nobody is bothered about this, you are not supposed to go beyond the configuration. You are not supposed to think about the configs. But instead, you have to think, you have to start analyzing about the business requirement, what happens, what exactly you will do as a consultant. What normally happens in a consulting world if you're in a project, what normally you will be doing, what kind of activities you will do. If you're attending an interview, what is that people expect from you in your interview? Is it that if I know all the configurations, will I be able to clear my interview? If yes, everybody would be SAP FICO consultant. If no, then what are they expecting? So there will be a lot of mysteries, there will be a lot of question marks which will be hitting your mind. But all these question marks, all these confusions, we have to get clarified. We need to make sure that you are clear with what you are going to do as a FICO consultant, what is expected from you when you are in the interview, what is expected from you when you are in a project, so that you will feel comfortable, you will feel confident. To get that feel of comfortableness, confidence, you need to start right from accounting, because this is what you are going to do. If you talk openly, accounting is nothing but your SAP FICO. Agree with me? You are going to do accounting in SAP FICO. If I say this statement, am I right or wrong?
Right.
But you are going to do accounting in SAP FICO, because if you list out the points from your FICO in F5, let's say these are the broad categories of FICO. GL, AP, AR, in everything, are we talking about debit, credit, accounting entries, reports, at the end, P&L account, balance sheet, trial balance, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, for all these things to happen, you need to depend on accounting cycle. You need a business requirement. No matter whether you are using SAP or any other application, if you are purchasing from somebody, you need an invoice. Based on the invoice, you are going to write an accounting entry. If it is a purchase, what you are going to debit, what you are going to credit. On what basis you are debiting, on what basis you are crediting, how this debit credit happens in SAP. For that, you need to make different settings. Now, at the end, last point that I'll tell, this is very important. Let's say SAP is not ready to use application. Is this statement correct?
Yes, it's correct.
If I buy SAP, I cannot use SAP right from day one.
Correct.
Now, if I want to use SAP, I need to do something called configuration, or I need to do something called setup. I need to set up SAP, I need to configure SAP to be able to use SAP. Now, I do not know how to configure SAP. I do not know how to set up SAP. To do this configuration, to do this setup, you need somebody called consultant. You need somebody called consultant. Now, consultant cannot just like that come and set up this SAP and then go. This is not a TV, this is not a refrigerator, this is not a washing machine. Somebody can come, they'll simply tell step number 1, 2, 3, you are ready to go. It is not like that. This is something the consultant will have to sit and discuss with you, understand your business process, and then map the business process according to SAP. Not everything that you are expecting is possible from SAP. Not everything that you are expecting is possible from SAP. Then you may have to do certain customizations in SAP to meet your requirement. All these things you have to do as a consultant. All these things you have to do as a consultant. But normally what happens when you are learning, we straight away start configuring things right from the beginning on the sequential order based on the material, based on the document. So there is no point that you are applying your mind why you are doing what. Is this the same way that you do in the project, or is this something that you do apart from what you are doing in the practice? So these kind of points, these kind of things is what we have to understand, that will help us gain the knowledge, that will help us becoming comfortable and then confident. Tomorrow if you are talking to somebody, make sure the other person feels that whatever you are talking is correct. Now whatever you tell, if the other person is telling no, this is wrong, this is not the way we do in project, will you be comfortable listening to these kind of statements? Whatever you tell to the other person, no, this is not the way that we do it in SAP. That you don't want to listen to it, you don't want somebody to tell that you're wrong when you're talking. Agree? You want somebody to tell, yes, this is how we work on the project. Yes, you're right. This is how you want to listen the feedback from the other people. This is possible only when you know how things will happen in a project. For you to know it, for you to understand it, our approach, our thought process, our thinking right from the beginning should be different. Okay, if I tell you a simple example, let's say I purchased an open land. Everybody know what is an open land, right? I purchased an open land. Now I want to construct a house. I purchased an open land. I want to construct a house. Now house is mine, the land is mine, I am the owner of the land, but I do not know how to construct a house. Now I am dependent on a builder, correct? Agree? I depend on a builder. Now will I be okay if builder builds the house according to his choice, or I'll not be okay?
Not okay.
Will not be okay, right? Now house must be built based on my choice. What is the design, how I want to have my house, if I want to have 2 BHK, 1 BHK, whether I want to build for myself to stay or if I want to give it for rent for somebody, it is my choice. Now the builder will have to discuss with me, or you have to discuss with the builder. You need to give your requirement. You need to give the requirement. Accordingly, he will start working. Now when the builder is start working, are you going to disappear from the place until he completes, or you will be monitoring what they're doing?
I'll be monitoring.
Right? You will be monitoring whether everything is happening as per your expectation, as per your plan or not. The same thing will happen when you're in a project as a consultant. The way you purchase the open land, the way you purchase the SAP is the same. The way your builder comes to build a house, the way consultant comes to configure the system is the same. Same logic, same concept. He knows how to build a house, but he cannot take any decision that you do like this, it will be very good, this design is very good. It is not his choice. Similarly, you know the configurations. I know this is the setting, this is the T code. Not going to work out. You need to discuss with the client what is the requirement. Accordingly, you decide what to do. But without talking, without discussing, you are not supposed to take calls on your own. You are not supposed to config on your own. It has to be strictly based on the client or business requirement. This client requirement, business requirement is always the accounting requirement from FICO point of view. Am I correct?
Sir.
Is always the accounting requirement, either the transaction posting or the master records creation or the report generation. All right, any questions so far? You are able to follow what we are discussing?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes. Let me stop this recording.